Very warm welcome to the Enlightenment Awakening session. These are small learning bites, and it's helpful for every seeker who is on the journey of self awakening, enlightenment. Whoever is a bodhisattva, want to know his Buddhahood, someone who is on the journey of self awakening, self realization. These learning bites are very helpful for any seeker who is on the path of enlightenment. So today thought for awakening is, if the mind stops, a breathing stops, and if the breathing stops, a mind stops. This is very important thought and very important principle. Every seeker, every meditator who is on the path of enlightenment, no matter which religion he belongs to, Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Jainism, Japanese, Chinese, Indonesian, Burma, whichever it is. These are universal principles, and it's very important to for a seeker, for a monk who is on the path of enlightenment, meditation, self-awakening, and realization. These are very unique in nature, and one must understand and explore, research in these principles, and see how best we can utilize our time for a journey, to make our journey a successful towards enlightenment. So today's principle is, when the breathing stops, a mind stops. When mind stops, a breathing stops. What is mind? What is breathing? Mind is an energy. Mind consume and produce thoughts and feelings, and in breathing, it's a respiratory function, very important function, and throughout the life it goes on, it goes on and goes on. Through breathing we take prana, we take space, air, fire, water and earth element through breathing, and we throw outside the carbon. So breathing, it's a continuous cycle. It goes on continuously, but there are certain patterns in life, there are certain moments in life where breathing stops completely. Now breathing is a physical realm requirement. We have multiple bodies, and the spirituality says that there are certain different bodies. Physical body is one of that, and we have 6 different bodies. Those are very different and very difficult to see, but very easy to experience. As and when you progress on the spirituality, as and when you meditate, your energy uplift, and then you realize that there are certain different bodies we have. We have auric body, we have energy body, causal body, nirvana body, etc, etc, and it's a very different world to explore. So there are certain situations when the breathing stops naturally. The breathing is a physical realm requirement, and beyond the physical requirement, whenever you experience the body which is not physical in nature but different, maybe energy body, maybe nirvana body, there you don't realize the breathing, because breathing is a physical level requirement. And when you go beyond this body, go beyond the mind, you realize your own self, but there is no breathing. There are certain situations in life you meet across a certain experiences. Of course, through meditation you can go up to that level wherein you go beyond breathing, beyond mind, where no thought exists, no feeling exists, and you remain calm, conscious, relaxed, and you see there is no breathing, there is no thought, you see there is no mind, and you experience yourself. Through constant and consistent practice, there are certain methods, you develop that and you realize. But there are certain incidents in life which happen suddenly, naturally. So these incidents are very important in nature, and someone, a yogi, a seeker, a bodhisattva, a master, a disciple, they should always conscious and wait for this certain moment. This happens very naturally. I'll give you certain examples. There are certain incidents in life. Let's say you come across an animal, suddenly you come across a snake or a tiger or lion or maybe bear or any wild animal, and you suddenly get into that situation when no thought exists, no feelings exist, you suddenly, your consciousness drop to the navel, which is your center of being, existence, and there no thought exists, no feeling exists. For the very moment, it's a life death kind of situation, and you realize your own self. Now that self you need to remember 24 by 7. These sudden moment it comes, you drop to the conscious level, nothing remains, no material life, no samsara, no desire, no thought, no achievement, no goal, no money, no position, no prestige, no relationship. So you suddenly come across a situation where you require nothing, you just remain as it is, and that as it is moment you need to pick it up, remember, and then develop a certain level of consciousness. Why in that moment I don't think, why in that moment I don't feel anything, what is that moment? I reach to certain level wherein I don't require anything, I don't want money, I don't want prestige, I just be as it is. So that moment you need to develop in your consciousness and in your meditation, and that self remembrance you need to develop. Ashtavakra says you don't require anything, you're born enlightened. So that quality, Raman Maharshi says, who am I? That am I exist beyond body and mind. So in that there are certain situations you experience that divine I, experience that real self. So that you need to then develop further. There are certain incidents in life wherein you come across the wild animal, or there are certain situations where you're driving a car and you suddenly you see the moment that some car is coming towards you very speed level, and it's about to touch you, and in that very moment you realize, oh, that oh comes, that aha comes, and in that very moment no thought exists, no feeling exists, no money, no desire, no relationship, and you suddenly drop into the consciousness level, which is very pure in nature. So which is very pure in nature. That purity is very universal, that purity is very natural, just like a kid. There are other certain situations wherein you experience this kind of situation. These are like a near death experience. Suddenly you are driving a car towards a valley, and you see a deep valley, and you think like, so what will happen if I my car goes into that wrong direction. There are certain situations you come across a situation wherein you experience a very loud thunder, or you're in a plane and suddenly the turbulence comes and you jump into that situation, and you come across of life of death kind of experience. These are the situations wherein your mind does not exist. It simply it simply evaporates, it simply dissolves into this universe, and you remain as it is, just a pure consciousness, just like what Buddha said, awareness. So you get into that awareness situation where no thought exists, no feeling exists, and then you need to remember that moment and bring it to the meditation. Go inside a deep meditation and connect with yourself, similar self wherein you have experienced the near death experience situation. So you develop that quality and you go inside, connect with the self and develop the awareness, which will further help you to enhance your consciousness and expand the consciousness. So life and the breathing has a very deep connection. You see, in anger we breathe heavily, in lust, in very negative desires, we breathe very heavily. But when we are in calm situation, relaxed situation, in deep sleep, deep meditation, our breathing is very calm. You see dogs, they breathe very heavily. In a minute, they breathe something around on an average of 35 times. But if you see elephant breathe somewhere around 10 to 15 times, or maybe 4 to 15 times in a minute. Whereas a man, if he continuously, if throughout the life he sees in anger, his lifespan will be reduced. As per the Ayurveda science, they said your breathing cycle has a deep connection with your lifespan. If you are like a Buddha or a Mahavira or Osho or Guru Nanak or Kabir, Meera, if you have spiritual qualities, your breathing will always remain calm. You will be always in a delta situation. But if you are angry, if you are very desirous a person, kind of, lust, or very hungry for different things, and not attuned with nature, then you will have a disturbed breathing pattern. So today's sutra is about how you can bring it, the situation, how you can suddenly, those situation, you can suddenly come across a situation wherein you see there is no breathing, no mind. Remember that situation and develop further consciousness, and see to it that how best your breathing is at a rhythmic pattern. So when you're in meditation, when you're self-aware, you're self-awakening, always see yourself in any kind of situation. You always see your thoughts. So whenever you see your breath, whenever you see your thoughts, it will reduce and further reduce. The more you develop the quality of consciously watching your thoughts, if you have 100 thoughts in a minute, then it will reduce further to the 50 and 20 if you consciously watch your thought, watch your breath. If you are in anger and suddenly if you stop your breathing, you see that anger will reduce. If you are in lust, negative desire, very deep sad, and you see, you stop the breathing, suddenly you will see that the thoughts are also disappearing, and you will come to that level that you will feel the connection between breathing and thoughts. At any given moment, while walking, while sitting, while talking, while doing any activity, stop your breathing for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. Suddenly stop. Don't stop while you take a breath and then you do kumbhak in yoga. You breathe out and then you hold it. Don't do that. Suddenly stop it, and you will see a drastic 360-degree shift. You will not able to think. There won't be any thought, and that is the moment you need to remember and develop in the meditation. So today's thought is, mind moment needs breath moment, breath moment needs mind moment. In Japan, Zen masters do this technique very fundamentally. What they do basically, they create certain disturbed and absurd situation. They behave in such a way that every disciple should come into the center. Now, why we say that come into the center, come to the home? The navel is home. We are always off the center, and every person is living in life, he's always off the center. If he is not a meditator, he's always off the center. Life is a periphery, and periphery is samsara, a material life. So we all live our life in the material. We always go for prestige, we always go for for money, prestige, relationship, and we never realize our own self, which is joyful, pleasant, everlasting. And it is a very moment to moment, we never realize, and we always see moment to moment. We go for prestige or any kind of desire relationship. We always run our life in a periphery. We never realize our own center. What masters, Zen masters do, they are aware that our life goes beyond this periphery, and we never realize the center. So they pick it up, do certain situation, bring certain situation, disturb and very disturbed kind of situation, wherein they put, we come to the center. They create certain disturbing situation wherein we come to the situation. I'll give you example. If the master is sitting and Zen master is giving a beautiful talk about the life, suddenly he wake up, suddenly he stand up, take the stick and start beating up the students randomly. Now, without any reason, that is something very important. We have seen, we deal life with reason, cause and reason. If I am good to you, you are good to me. If you are good to me, I am good to you. But Zen master break this pattern. If you are good to him, he will very ugly to you, very bad to you. If you are bad to him, he will be very extremely good to you, very compassionate to you. If you make him angry, he will laugh like anything. He will break that pattern of life. Generally, the material life, it goes like, if I am giving you good things, if you are in my good book, I am good to you, you are good to me. If I am bad to you, you are bad to me. That's how the relationship work, give and take relationship. Zen master break this pattern. Now, why they do that? Why they do absurd things? Why they beat students, and why they are always prefer the opposite way, because we are very used to with this kind of life, and since we are very used to with it, we remain in that periphery, but they break the pattern, and while breaking that pattern, the shift happens. We suddenly come to the center. Now Zen master, whoever it is, if he is beating the student, he try to think why is he beating me, and he never give a time. He see to it that the student is not into analytical mind. He never give a time even to think why master is beating, why is he beating him. So in that particular absurd situation, what happens, the student get into the belly, they go to the situation when they don't get time to think why master is beating, why is he beating us, why is he behaving like that. So they create certain kind of situation. These are the best possible Japanese master have developed. The original master of this technique is Lord Shiva, and he was a promoter of this technique. In his young age, Master Shiva, Lord Shiva, proposed Devi Parvati for marriage, and Parvati was very fascinating with Lord Shiva's meditation energy and his aura and his different level of energy. Shiva was an extremist. If he danced at extreme level. If he meditated at extreme level. If he is in a different mood, he is always at the extreme level. So Shiva was a person who proposed Devi Parvati, but Devi Parvati's, the story goes like this: Devi Parvati's father, his father-in-law of Shiva, he was not happy with Shiva's this absurd behavior. He used to take Somrasa, and in the procession, the Bharat, when he proposed Devi and he visited her place, her village, the entire village has gone mad, because Shiva's followers and the entire procession, they were at very high stage of consciousness, and people again experience this sudden thing, moment. Looking at the procession, the disciples of Shiva, they were at very high, and they have taken a liquid called Somrasa, and it gives you a very high kind of energy, a kind of alcoholic or a kind of drug thing. So they were at very high stage. So Shiva was the first promoter of this technique, and he used to dance so that people will suddenly experience this kind of thunder. He used to bring out anger from him, so that people will suddenly come to the center. They don't even think what is this, just like a lightning moment. When he used to dance, people feel like this, what is this? There's some kind of big universal energy is dancing, just like that. So Shiva was a person who used to do all this absurd and very weird thing. Weird it is for us, but the very motive is to bring you, to connect you to the center, because in that particular moment you don't get even time to think. In that particular moment you don't get time to feel. You bring your awareness to the here and now moment. At the very pure stage, you realize no thought, no feeling, and you become a very pure consciousness. And that is the moment. There are certain moments suddenly come to our life, and we need to remember that moment. There are certain masters who create that kind of situations. We need to remember that. And third thing, positively, with a consistent practice, we can develop this feeling in our life. We can develop that moment in life where no breath exists, no mind exists. So you can stop your breathing at any moment. Don't breathe in, don't breathe out. Stop at any moment and see the taste of it. No thought exists, and you suddenly feel only consciousness, and in that consciousness you feel the universal sound of Om, which is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient, and you beyond body, you realize your own self. Hari Om Tat Sat.